Nothing that God ever made is the same thing to more than one person. That is natural. There is no single face in nature because every eye that looks upon it sees it from its own angle. Ain't that true? So every man's spice box seasons his own food. Naturally, I picked up the reflections of life around me with my own instruments and absorbed what I gathered according to my inside juices. There were the two churches, Methodist and Baptist, and the school. Most people would say that such institutions are always the great influences in any town. They would say that because it sounds like the thing that ought to be said, but I know that Joe Clark's store was the heart and spring of the town. Men sat around the store on boxes and benches and passed this world and the next one through their mouths. The right and the wrong, the who, when, and why was passed on, and nobody doubted the conclusions. Women stood around there on Saturday nights and had it proven to the community that their husbands were good providers, put all of his money in his wife's hands, and generally glorified her. Or right there before everybody, it was revealed that he was keeping some other women by the things the other woman was allowed to buy on his account. No doubt, a few men found that their wives had a brand new pair of shoes oftener than he could afford it and wondered what she did with her time while he was off at work. Sometimes he didn't have to wonder. There were no discrete nuances of life on Joe Clark's porch. There was open kindness, anger, hate, love, envy, and its kinfolks. But all emotions were naked and nakedly arrived at. It was a case of make it and take it. You got what your strengths would bring you. This was not just true of Eatonville. This was the spirit of that whole new part of the state at the time, as it always is when men settle new lands. For me, the store porch was the most interesting place that I could think of. I wasn't allowed to sit around there, naturally, but I could and did drag my feet going in and out whenever I was sent there for something to allow whatever was being said to hang in my ear. I would hear an occasional scrap of gossip and what to me was adult double talk, but which I understood at times. There would be, for instance, sly references to the physical condition of women, irregular love affairs, brags on male potency by the parties of the first part, and the like. It did not take me long to know what was meant when a girl was spoken of as ruined or bigged. For instance, somebody would remark, Ada Dell is ruined, you know. Yep, somebody was telling me. A pitcher can go to the well a long time, but it's bound to get broke sooner or later. Or some woman or girl would come switching past the store porch, and some man would call to her, Hey, sugar, what on the rail for the lizard? Then again, I would hear some man say that I gotta have my ground rations. If one woman can't take care of it, I gets me another one. One man told the woman to hold her ear close because he had a bug to put in her ear. He was sitting on a box. She stooped over to hear whatever it was he had to whisper to her. Then she straightened up sharply and pulled away from him. Why, you, she exclaimed, the idea of such a thing? Talking like that to me when you know I'm a good church worker and you a deacon. He didn't seem to be ashamed at all. That's just the point I'm coming out on, sister. Two clean sheets can't dirty one another, you know. There was general laughter as the deacon moved his foot so I could get in the store door. I happened to hear a man talking to another in a chiding manner and say, To save my soul, I can see what you fooled with her for. She'd have a shake if somebody was to hold her head for her. I'd just as soon pick up an old tin can out of the trash pile. The other one stroked his chin and said, on the average, I say the same thing. But last night, I had the feeling that anything hot and hollow would do, just like Uncle Bud. One afternoon, my oldest brother was on the store porch with the men. He was proudly stroking 2 or 3 hairs on his top lip. A married man in his late 20s was giving him some advice about growing a big, thick mustache. I went on inside. Then I was coming out. When I was coming out, I heard something about getting his finger wet from a woman and wiping it on his lip. Best mustache grower God ever made. They all grew theirs that way. It was a good thing my brother let them know so that he could be told the inside secret. I emerged from the door and the porch fell silent. Later on, I asked my brother what they were talking about, and he slapped me all over the place. He and my second brother John were in secret session upstairs in their room. I went on down and crept back to listen and heard John asking how old the woman had to be. It seemed that Bob was not sure. He had forgotten to ask, but it was evident that some great discovery had been made, and they were both most eager to grow big, manly mustaches. It was still mysterious to me. I was out of college and doing research in anthropology before I heard all about it. Then I heard that a man's mustache was given him by a woman anyway. It seems that Adam came to feel that his face needed more decoration than it had. Eve, obligingly, took a spot of hair from where she had no particular use for it. It didn't show anyway, and slapped it across Adam's mouth, and it grew there. So what Bob was being told was regular knowledge he was supposed to get when he approached manhood, just as I learned at puberty that a girl is supposed to catch water beetles and let one bite her on each breast if she wants a full bosom. There was another way, of course. You could let a boy, anywhere from 16 to 60, do what the boys call steal a feel on you. But of course, that would not be nice. Almost as bad as having a baby and not being married. But what I really loved to hear was the men folks holding a lion session. That is, straining against each other and telling folk tales. God, devil, Br'er rabbit, Br'er fox, sis cat, Br'er bear, lion, tiger, buzzard, and all the wood folk walked and talked like natural men. The usual rejoinder was, oh, she's got enough to go on. No matter how much wood you chop, a woman will burn it all up to get a meal. If she got a couple of pieces, she will make it do. If you chop up a whole box full, she will burn every stick of it. Pay her no mind. So the storytelling would go right on. And I often hung around and listened while Mama waited on me for the sugar or coffee to finish off dinner, until she lifted her voice over the treetops in a way to let me know that her patience was gone. You, Zora, if you don't come here, you better. That had a promise of peach hickories in it, and I would have to leave. But I listen now for part 2 of this episode of Dust Tracks on the Road by Zora Neale Hurston.